Happy Wednesday, folks, and welcome to episode 426 of AskGSM here today for Wednesday, January 26, 2022. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week so far. We got the Royal Rumble on Saturday. How can you not be stoked for that, regardless of what your thoughts on the build to the pay-per-view has been? We're going to have a fun time on Saturday night, which I'm looking forward to. In the meantime, we got a lot of stuff going on here on the channel. We got the return of the MCU Star Wars podcast, whatever you want to call it, and we will give it a name soon. That's coming up, I believe, on Monday, possibly, hopefully. We're going to be doing that again. Shang-Chi review from a few months ago. Myself, Chris Mueller, Phil Lindsay. Look forward to that coming up in the next week. We also got my review of the Broken Skull Sessions with Becky Lynch, dropping on Friday on Peacock. Not sure when my review will be up. Maybe Sunday. I said last week, my Talking Smack review, if they do a Talking Smack, will be up on Sunday. Maybe I'll put it up on Sunday instead and do the Talking Smack review on Saturday along with my Smackdown review. We'll see. We got Becky Lynch review, again, Broken Skull Session Sunday, Smackdown audio review, Talking Smack review Saturday, next Monday, possibly a Shang-Chi review, like I said. We had my Sheamus review go up the other day. Be sure to check that out in video form. And then on Friday, we got another interview ahead of the Royal Rumble on Saturday with another Smackdown superstar in Kofi Kingston. Round 2. With the New Day member himself. Great time. We chatted about a year ago ahead of Elimination Chamber. This time talking all about the Royal Rumble, of course, and so much more. So check that out on Friday when it drops. It could be up before then. It could be up early Saturday. I'm currently aiming for Friday. So keep an eye out for that when it drops on Friday morning. That being said, guys, if you want to send in a question to this very show, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment, or a question rather, on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below on the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Noel from YouTube's got 2 questions. First one being, top 5 Royal Rumble winners. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. I'm not sure if you mean like the top 5 most likely to win this year. I don't think so. I actually just wrote a whole article about that for Bleacher Report on Tuesday, so check that out when you get a chance. Another shameless plug. What I think you mean is top 5 Royal Rumble winners of all time. Are you talking about like a single Rumble winner, or like someone like a Stone Cold Steve Austin who has won 3? Or Orton or Cena or Batista or Triple H or Edge who have all won 2? Shawn, Hulk Hogan. There might have been another one, but there's been a lot of people who have won multiple Royal Rumbles. I mean, I guess if you're talking in general, it would be Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels. I would probably put. You would have to put the multiple winners in there. The people who have won it multiple times would probably be my pick. So Stone Cold, like I said, Shawn Michaels in 95 and 96. John Cena, just because I really liked that 08 Rumble. Orton has had a lot of great Rumble moments and 2 back-to-back wins, but in 09 and 2017 respectively. And then maybe Triple H, because he had some great Rumble performances, and he won a great Rumble in 02 and another great Rumble in 2016, one of which being for the WWE Championship. If you're just talking in general, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I've always ranked the Rumble matches, but as far as the winners, like, I haven't been watching for the last 35 years, so I can't say, this was the right person to win at that time. But, like, Ric Flair would be at the top of that list probably from 92. Still the greatest Royal Rumble, I would say, of all time. That's just, I'm thinking retrospectively here. I mean, probably Austin in the late 90s, like I said. I'm trying to think, like, who really was like, what a great Rumble winner. Like, Rey Mysterio didn't have a great Rumble performance, mind you, in 06, but it was a great moment when he won after lasting a long time, over an hour, and being in there from number 2. So that was a good one. For the women, I'm trying to think, like, Becky was the right woman to win in 2019. Asuka as well in 2018. Last year, Bianca had a great performance. I was really happy that she won from number 3, the Ric Flair number from 92. Very happy about that. I'm trying to think who else. I was really happy when Nakamura won in 2018 and a great Rumble. Another great Rumble in 2020. Very happy that Drew won that year. I'm trying to think. Cena in 08 was a great moment when he won after coming back from that injury. Great moment. So, I can't really pick just 5 because I'm not really sure what you mean by that question. But those would be among my answers, though. More specifically, I like your second question a little bit more because it is a bit more, I can kind of hone it down a little bit more. Who do you think is Mr. Royal Rumble? And 3 names come to mind, and then an honorable mention. The honorable mention is Randy Orton. Randy Orton has won 2 Royal Rumbles. Not my 2 favorite Rumbles. I'm not a big fan of the 2009 Rumble or the 2017 Rumble. He kind of felt like, okay, let's kind of give it to him because we're not going to give it to really anyone else. There really aren't a lot of options for these 2 Rumbles, so let's just give it to him. But still, he won 2 Rumbles. And then I was informed just yesterday, I did not know this, Alexis told me this, and she's right. I don't know where she saw this. But Orton has been in the Final Four 8 times. And then I thought about it this morning. He was in the Final Four in, 2006 for sure, 2007, 2009 obviously because he won it, 2011. I just watched that one last night, so that's 4. He was in the Final Four in 2012, 2013, that's 6. He was in the Final Four again in 2017 when he won it. When he won it. And then again, I think in 2018. Wasn't it him? I think it was him, Cena, Roman, and Finn. No, Shinsuke. Maybe he wasn't in the Final Four that year. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure he was definitely in the Final Four at least 8 times. So he would be my honorable mention. For my top 3 Mr. Royal Rumble picks, so he's asking me who my number 1 Mr. Royal Rumble is. Not like 3 picks, but I have 3 people. It's probably the same names you're thinking of. Shawn Michaels, Kane, and Stone Cold. Those are probably the top 3 people I think of when I think of Royal Rumble matches. You could take Kofi too for all the cool spots. I guess that would be an honorable mention as well. But of those 3, I would probably go with Stone Cold. He won 3. Obviously, he's won more than anyone else. Some of those Rumbles were great. That 2001 Rumble was great. I've heard good things. I've seen them all, but I haven't seen it in a while. About the 97 Rumble, the 98 Rumble. The 99 Rumble was complete fucking garbage. And even then, he was at least in the final 2. He wasn't in the 2000 Rumble. So he won those Rumbles. He was in the Final Four in 2002 when he didn't win. But he still came close that year. And that was the last Rumble that he was in. So he wasn't in many Rumbles, but of the Rumbles he was in, he won 3 out of the what? He wasn't in the 96 Rumble, I don't think. So maybe he was. I don't think he was. 97, 98, 99, 01, and 02. So that's 5 Rumbles, and over half of the Rumbles that he was in, he won. So I think that constitutes him as Mr. Royal Rumble. I guess you could say the same thing about Ric Flair. Ric Flair was in, 2 or 3, and he won one of them. So, but still, I think Stone Cold's got a hell of a record there. Hell of a batting average as far as Royal Rumbles go. Kane had the most eliminations in one match at one point. I think of his dominant performance in 2001, and then he was in every Rumble from that point forward. I think up until 2012. He wasn't in the 2012 Rumble, but he was in the Rumble in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. I don't think he was in. I think that was another Rumble that he missed. And I don't think he was in it again until 2021. I could be wrong on that, because I don't think he was in the 2018 Rumble either, even though he was on that show. But anyway, him, and then Shawn, obviously, he won 2 Rumbles back-to-back in 95 and 96, and he's had a lot of great Rumble performances beyond just those 2. He was in the 92 Rumble. I think when I watched that one just recently, I forgot all about that. He was in that Rumble, I believe. It was probably in other Rumbles before that, because he'd been with the company for so long. A great performance in 2003. He had a lot of good performances in 2006, 2008. He was in there for a long time. I loved his performance in the 2010 Rumble. I don't think he was in the... Was he in the 2009 Rumble? I don't think he was, because I think he was busy elsewhere on the show with JBL and John Cena in their World Heavyweight Championship match. But yeah, Shawn's had a lot of great Rumble performances. So I would go with Stone Cold as number 1. Kane is 2, probably, and then Shawn at number 3. Maybe Shawn can be 2, but I think if you were to ask me, gun to head, who is the undisputed Mr. Royal Rumble, one name, it would be Stone Cold Steve Austin. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine. Also check out his YouTube channel, Real Honesty with John Ritland, does awesome work. His first question was, could we see a dark horse pick when either or both of the Rumbles this year? Or are the winners pretty much a lock? I don't think either winner is a lock. My current pick, spoiler alert, for the men is Brock, and then for the women is Bianca. Now, Brock isn't even in the men's. For Brock to... I don't want him to win, trust me. For anyone thinking, why would you want Brock to win? He's won it before, and he's an established name, blah, blah, blah. I've kind of eased up on the whole fresh faces have to win it every time. That doesn't have to be the case every time. Like, Edge won it last year, and I was fine with it because it made sense from a storyline standpoint. It was a great moment, so I didn't really mind that. Brock winning, I just have zero desire to see. I guess it would make sense if... I mean, again, a couple things have to happen. He has to lose the WWE Championship earlier on in the show to Bobby Lashley, and then come back out at the end to win the Rumble. Which I think is honestly, that to me seems like the most predictable path to take, because we all know we're getting Roman and Brock at WrestleMania. We are not getting it before then. I doubt they do it again in Saudi. They want to do it here in the States. They were going to do it at day one. They couldn't. Roman got COVID. They're going to do it at WrestleMania. And, I mean, I'm also of the mindset, too, if Brock wins, the winners of both Rumbles have got a main event both nights of WrestleMania. One night of Mania should go to the women, and I think Becky, because she has the best story going on right now and being champion since WrestleMania 35. Becky main events one night, probably with Bianca or Rhea or, Ronda if she comes back. And then the other match will probably be Roman and Brock. It should be Reigns and Lesnar. I'm not really sure what other match you would do in the main event of Mania if it wasn't that. And I think if you were to have like Big E win the Rumble, for example, would he main event Mania? Probably not. And I think those days should be done. I think the years of like people winning the Rumble but fucking opening the show should be over. I think that's just ridiculous. That happened with Rollins in 2019, but now that we have 2 nights of Mania, that shouldn't be happening anymore. So I really do think it's going to be Brock. I don't think that's a lock. I don't think Brock's a lock. Bianca's even less of a lock. I think with the women's one, there's more people who could realistically win. Like I said, Ronda could come back and win the whole thing. I don't think she's in the match and she loses. I think if she comes back on Saturday, she wins the whole thing. Because her and Becky also make sense for Mania. I think that would completely fuck over Bianca. Bianca never got her win back over Becky. I mean, I know they're pushing for Ronda to come back right now, reportedly. But I don't really want to see that just because, I don't know. I'm not sure what else you do with Ronda if she doesn't face Becky. I would rather they just hold off on Ronda until after Mania, because I think the Mania match, they would completely be fucking over Bianca if it wasn't, Becky and Bianca at WrestleMania. Could you do a 3-way? Yeah, but then again, we already got Ronda and Becky in a triple threat at 35. It would have to be one-on-one. So I'm not a big fan of the timing. Of all years to bring back Ronda, I don't think this is the year or the time anyway. Maybe after Mania, or could you do her and Charlotte over on the SmackDown side? Yeah. Does that make her a babyface again? I guess. Are people really going to get behind Ronda? They will for one night. I don't know. I always thought Ronda was a better heel towards the end there in WWE. And Becky's a heel anyway. So babyface Ronda beating Becky, I don't know about that. So yeah, Ronda could win. Like I said, Rhea is also a pretty strong candidate. A lot of people aren't talking about Rhea right now, but they broke her off from Nikki. She and Nikki can finish up their feud at the Saudi show, or before then on Raw or whatever the next night. And then she can go on to face Becky at Mania in a fresh match that we haven't gotten since that one-off match they had on NXT back in November of 2019. So, and also Rhea doesn't have to face Becky. She could also go to SmackDown, and they need women right now, and she wouldn't exactly be out of place on that show. She can avenge her loss to Charlotte from 2 years ago and take the SmackDown Women's Championship from her, because she hasn't held the SmackDown Women's Championship yet. That's the only championship Ronda hasn't won yet. Ronda is the only woman ever to hold the Raw, NXT, tag titles, and the NXT UK Women's Championships, and probably will be the only person to ever do that. I don't see Kaylee Ray doing that. Toni Storm's already gone. She never even held the NXT Women's Championship, and I don't think Mako Satomura is going to do it. So, yeah, that's what I'm expecting. Not what I'm expecting, but what I would like to say. Ronda, Bianca, and Rhea are all top 3 choices. I don't think anyone else really has a chance. For the men, it's Brock, and then what's the closest name after that? Big E? I don't see that happening. A lot of people have said AJ is like, that's not a clear-cut gonna happen pick. Let me tell you right now. I've seen AJ as like, I would love to see AJ win. I've seen people say that as a great underdog pick. And I'll get to AJ in a minute because I got a couple other questions about him. He is far from put my money on him to win because I think that's a long shot. They have clearly demonstrated they don't know what to do with AJ Styles right now, and they haven't seen him as a top star in close to like a year or two in a while. They don't see him as an undercard act the same way they would do, I would say, probably Finn Balor. What would you even do with AJ, though, if he were to win the Rumble? Who does he face in Mania? That's the problem. Does he face Roman? No. Who would be the WWE champion? Bobby Lashley? That to me sounds like a great match. Would they actually do that? Probably not. Then again, I didn't think they would put Bobby in the championship match in Mania last year, and they did. So, you never know. They could surprise us. Brock, I feel like, is more like a lock than Bianca, but neither are really like, this is going to happen. Like, with the men, because Brock's not even in it, and a couple things would have to happen in order for him to win it. That's why I don't think he's a lock. There's a good chance he's not even in it at all. Who you win instead, or who you have win instead, is really the question there, and I'm not really sure what the answer is. John's second question: what are your thoughts on the reports that AEW is going to let some contracts expire? Who do you think will be among those let go? So, they got to trim the roster. They got to trim the fat. John, you and I talk about this all the time on Twitter. Dark is beyond overbloated with people that just have no business being on this roster in 2022. They were good pickups when they first started the company in 2019 because the free agency at that point was pretty thin. So they kind of signed anyone who didn't have a deal set in stone at that point. There's so many free agents now in wrestling and so many people getting cut from WWE. They don't need a lot of the people they still have on their roster. When I say a lot, I'm thinking the Joey Janela type people. He's got to go. The only reason I could see Joey sticking around is because of the GCW connection, and they don't want to hurt that connection. But I would rather see them bring him in on a pay per appearance, type basis, just because he hasn't been on Dynamite in literally like a fucking year. He's just not good. He's really not that good. I know he has a connection with the crowd, and he's been better as a heel lately, but all of his shit has been going on Dark. They clearly have no plans for him. So that's why I went back to this about a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, when Tony Khan was like, oh, we let go of Big Swole because of her wrestling ability. Listen, Big Swole was not the best female in-ring competitor on that roster, far from it. But I would rather watch Big Swole than a lot of other people on that show. And I think she was better than a lot of the other people on that show. Luther is fucking awful. Luther, at least, I think, backstage, has some sort of a role as a mentor or a trainer, so I could see them keeping him around for that. Like Brian Cage, I love. They clearly have no plans for the guy. He's not hurt. They just don't know what the fuck to do with him, clearly, because he hasn't been on the show since, September, October. Just let the guy go. Just let him go. I'm not saying he wants to go, but I'll just do something with him, I think. But because if he were to leave AEW, I don't know where he goes. WWE ain't picking him up. Ring of Honor is gone. Impact, he was already there. I guess he can go back to Impact, but what does he even do there? He was already an Impact World Champion. I feel like I don't know really where he fits in. New Japan? Maybe? I don't know. He's one. Joey Janela. Marco Stunt has got to go. John would agree. John is not a Marco Stunt fan at all. He's just not that good, and I think as an addition to the Jurassic Express act, he worked in that respect. But they don't need him anymore. They kind of replaced him with Christian, who was an odd fit for those two. But, at least Christian's with them and mentoring them and whatever. And I think all roads lead to Christian turning on Jungle Boy, and that's where they're going with that. Marco on his own as an in-ring competitor is just completely unbelievable, and the guy's a goof. So, if that contract gets picked up again, I would throw my hands up in the air. Wouldn't be shocked, because it's like all friends wrestling over there. We got to employ every friend in the business and whatever. Big Swole apparently didn't have enough friends on the roster. Peter Avalon's another guy. I think his deal expired and they didn't pick it up, which is why he's doing pay-per appearance now. The Wingmen are complete fucking goofs. The Librarian shit was awful. He's just mediocre. He's average. He's an average in-ring competitor. And at a time when they have so many great people on their roster, they have better jobbers than Peter Avalon. I would rather see on the show than fucking Peter Avalon. So, with that being said, he's another guy. I would hope they don't renew his contract. Sonny Kiss, I think, is good. I was a big fan of his work in Lucha. But again, they've just done absolutely nothing with the guy for literally the entire time that AEW's been around. At least the other people I mentioned have been on Dynamite doing programs. Sonny Kiss has never had more than probably 5 or 6 matches on Dynamite, if that. I know he and Joey teamed up for a time. He had that one TNT title match with Cody. And, it was a good match, but they never followed up on it. They never did anything with him after that. He's another guy that really just pales in comparison to everyone else they brought in since he got hired 3 years ago. So, those are some people I could see being let go. There's probably more names that we don't know about. A lot of the people that first started with the company back in 2019, those are the names that were there from the get-go, still there now, 3 years later. I would be stunned to see a lot of those people stay. Brian Cage, first and foremost. The guy's a big name and all, but why would Tony want to keep him if he's clearly demonstrated he has no plans or intentions to use him in any meaningful manner on the show? He's not even on the fucking show. It's not like he's on the show and he's losing. Like, Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, in my opinion, are underutilized. Two great talents, hardly on the show. They've been feeding with Dante forever. Who cares at this point? Jay Lethal's another guy that feels underutilized. Brian Cage isn't even on the show. I mean, that's just crazy to me. I know they have only so many hours of I mean, he's not even on Dark, for starters. Maybe they feel he's above Dark. I don't know. But it's like, you have 3 hours of TV between Dynamite and Rampage. I know that's only so much television time, but they put the same fucking people on these shows every week. Men of the Year, Dan Lambert. It's a Cody Rhodes. I know Cody's a big star, but it's like, do we need to have him on all these shows? The Elite were overexposed for a while. If you trim some of the fat there, you can find more TV time for people like Brian Cage. Let's be honest here. Leva Bates is another one. She has never been good. She is fucking abysmal. But I think she works behind the scenes, so she might be useful in that capacity, which is why they probably won't, not cut her, but like they actually will renew her contract. I wouldn't be surprised about that. Everyone else, if they don't have that sort of role backstage, then they're just kind of completely useless in that respect. But yeah, so I mean, there's probably more names we don't know about right now, but those are some that I think are coming up soon. Their contracts are expiring soon that I would be stunned to see renewed, because they just don't really offer much of substance on the roster at this current point in time. John's third question. So Brandy Rhodes has had 2 matches since returning, and to say they've been bad would be an understatement. My question is about her STF finisher. What the fuck is that supposed to be? It makes John Cena's seem amazing by comparison. I think Brandy's had more than 2 matches. I know she's wrestled on Dark probably 3 times. Maybe, I feel like it's been more than 2. She wrestled at Universal Studios on Dark at least twice, and I think she was on Elevation on Monday in front of an actual full live crowd. The Universal crowd will be like, oh, yay, Brandy, whatever. In front of an actual crowd that aren't a bunch of, like, AEW. I mean, everyone's an AEW mark, I guess, if you go to the shows. I'm an AEW mark. We all are if you watch the show and enjoy it. But, like, in front of a crowd that's not 100 people, she got booed out of the building. I don't know if she's supposed to be a heel. She came out of the face tunnel. But, like, the beginning of her theme song says, oh, jealousy and all this other shit and the stuff that she posts on Twitter. It's like, okay, is she going along with the Cody bullshit or is she not? She probably should. People just do not like Brandy Rhodes. Brandy, I think, is a great asset for that company in almost any other capacity than in the ring. I will say this, though, in her defense. You said that her matches have been bad. And you're not wrong. They haven't been good. But the last match, not this most recent match, the match before that wasn't awful from what I can recall. The match that we got this week from her, I think on Elevation with Willow Nightingale, maybe it's because my bar for Brandy is so fucking low that I had no choice but to surpass it, but I thought she looked fine. She looked better than she has before, than the matches I saw her have a couple of years ago. And like the Deadly Draw and on Dynamite or Dark or whatever, she was awful. I don't know, I mean, I know they kind of showed her training a little bit in her time off while she was pregnant, after having the baby, whatever. They showed her training on that reality show. I think part of that might have been just getting out of the baby shape and whatever, and just trying to, amp up her cardio and shit. But another part of that might have been actual wrestling. I didn't see a lot of the show, so I don't really remember. Maybe she actually has put in the time to get better in the ring. It's not really her fault, but I honestly think, prior to recently anyway, because again, the match on Monday I didn't think was terrible. Brandy just might be one of those people that it's not her strong suit. It's just not for her. She can try to improve, but some people will just never be good at it. Like, I'm sure if I did it, I would be fucking awful, because that's not what I do. That's not me. And the same can be said for a lot of people in wrestling and not in wrestling and whatever. Certain people are just cut out for certain things. I do not think she is cut out to be in the ring. As an enhancement talent, doing the occasional shorter match here and there, that might be fine. I think Brandy has always shined better as a valet. I think she's been an amazing valet on and off for Cody over the years. I think behind the scenes, she can be a great influence. I mean, she did a lot of the stuff with, I don't know if it was autism related or the sensory room or whatever it's called. I forget. My apologies. But she had incorporated that into the AEW shows not too long ago, like the sensory free room or sensory safe room or whatever it's called. And I thought that was a great idea, and that was something that I think that she implemented or helped implement in the AEW environment. And I think that's great. I think she's great with that sort of stuff. As far as being an on-air personality, I mean, even as a ring announcer, she wasn't bad. I thought she was pretty decent there. I just don't think she's cut out to be in the ring, though. she has not really improved a lot. She's improved marginally, but not a lot from the many matches she's had over the years, from Impact and then Ring of Honor, and now in now in AEW. She really just, it's the same. She's just not that good. So anyway, the STF looks awful, I agree, and John Cena is far from great, so to say that looks amazing in comparison is certainly saying a lot. I will say I'll give her more of a chance after what I saw on Monday, because the match with Willow Nightingale wasn't terrible in my opinion, like I said. Maybe that was partially Willow, I'm sure it was, but Brandy herself did not look awful. That being said, I do not want to see her be used in any meaningful manner as an in-ring competitor on the shows. I do not want to see her feuding or facing fucking Jade Cargill for the TBS Championship. I know you can play off of the whole, feud that brought Cargill into the company over a year ago. No thanks. Absolutely no thanks. So, yeah, I don't know. I would keep her limited to the shorter matches, if not just have her be a manager. But her wrestling ability, I applaud her effort. I applaud the effort a lot, and she seems like a really nice person. But as far as being in the ring, it's just, they have so many women that are far better than she is, and people like Leva Bates, where I feel like they're not getting enough TV time as it is. So I would rather they use them or bring in other women beyond Brandy Rhodes. At Kyle Rochelle 19, their question was, since the top stars on SmackDown got injured after the Royal Rumble, what can they do to make the show interesting heading into WrestleMania? Good question. I mean, I've said this a lot lately, that the SmackDown depth is in the fucking toilet. Drew got hurt, Sasha Banks got hurt, Toni Storm quit, Jeff Hardy got released, Hit Row got released, Xavier got hurt. He might be back soon, reportedly, but I mean, a lot of those acts are either promising acts or people I look forward to seeing on the show or already established top acts, and obviously Drew and Sasha will be back at some point, probably soon. But still, I mean, they need a lot more star power beyond just the Sheamuses and the Cesaros and the Ricochets. I mean, that's not going to cut it. The Corbin shit is just not that good. The Happy Corbin stuff, I've been a defender of it for a while, but the Madcap Moss joke shit, I'm not a fan of it all. You got New Day and the Usos, but the well runs dry beyond those names. I don't want to say bring in star power, because I'm not even sure what you do. I think you got a couple options. I know Brock and Roman is going to carry SmackDown going into WrestleMania. They really need to buckle down and start analyzing their roster and saying to themselves, who can we build up on this show? Which is why they brought over Rollins from Raw to face Roman at the Rumble, because they don't have anyone else. Who can we start building up? Maybe not even to Roman, because if Roman's not champion after Mania, you still need someone to face a Brock or whoever beats Roman. Who can we build up to be in that spot? I don't think it's going to be Cesaro. I think that was a one and done. It's over. Sheamus maybe, but he's been there for well over a decade. You need fresher faces. So here's two things they can do. One, bring in someone like Lita. I think Lita in, I forgot who had mentioned it to me. It wasn't Alexis. It was, I think it was Chris actually, or Phil maybe. I don't know. We were speaking the other day. Someone had mentioned the possibility of a Bayley and Lita feud. And I like that idea a lot. I think that'd be a great get for the SmackDown brand. SmackDown, they already have two of the four horsewomen in Sasha and Charlotte, but I just feel like they need the star power right now, with Sasha going down and Tony getting hurt, and they're not even using Shotzi and Shayna, really. They have Naomi and Sonya, but they need some more names, and Aaliyah's not going to cut it. So Bayley going to SmackDown wouldn't be terrible, and her feuding with Lita as an undercard women's feud, a lot like with Naomi and Sonya, would be good. I wouldn't have an issue with that. I guess you could do it on Raw, too, but again, I mean, we're talking about SmackDown here. Someone like Lita could help out a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. I don't want to see Goldberg on SmackDown. I don't think Cena's coming back anytime soon. I say this stuff is putting a, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound for right now. It's just temporary. I would say use those people for now, people like Brock and Lita and the older names, because in the meantime, you got to start building up new people. And among those people should be the NXT call-ups. That's the second thing that I would do with SmackDown. Maybe not everyone, but someone like an LA Knight, would be perfect on Friday nights. LA Knight, you can use him, Pete Dunne, Ciampa. I have a little less faith for him, just because I don't really think they see him as the star that he is, and he's not really the main roster Raw or SmackDown type of guy. But, someone like him could be useful on the main roster, Dakota Kai or Io Shirai even. All those names are great. Roddy, I have no faith for on the main roster. But I think the other people, specifically Pete Dunne or LA Knight, would be great gets for that Friday night SmackDown show. I really do. And they really should have been on the grand stage a long time ago, but better late than never. So call up some people from NXT, actually use them properly. Don't just call them up for the sake of calling them up. Use them, do something meaningful with them, please. That's an option. Honestly, I don't really know. I mean, bring over a name or two from Raw, orchestrate a trade or something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, of the people they currently have, I just don't really see who else you can put in a top spot. Corbin's not that guy. Sheamus has been that guy. Probably won't be that guy anytime soon, if ever again. Cesaro's just not going to be that guy. Never was that guy and probably won't be that guy. So who else can you use? Ricochet? Again, they've booked him to shit. He could have had a fresh start on SmackDown. They've done absolutely nothing with him. Ridge Holland is got potential. Maybe they can bring Veer over to SmackDown instead. Maybe that's the big swerve. I don't know. I'm throwing shit at the wall here. Because I really don't know what you can do. There's not a lot going on SmackDown right now. Ditch the Madcap Moss bullshit. He and Corbin can still be a unit, but you gotta ditch the dumb joke stuff. Put some more effort into the tag team division. The Viking Raiders were doing nothing for months, and all of a sudden we're supposed to take them seriously to a threat to the Usos. They've given them some wins lately, which is good, but they also lost to Corbin and Moss like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this show really needs some help. They need more mid-card acts. Actually utilize the Intercontinental Championship. I like Sami Zayn. I know Nakamura's hurt. They cannot get that belt off of Nakamura soon enough. The guy's over and whatever. He has had one defense of that championship in like 5 months. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. So they got to get the belt off the guy and put it on someone like a Sami or, in my opinion, a Sheamus. Not all those things are going to fix SmackDown, but it could help. Because the current state of SmackDown is pretty damn sad, and they can use all the help they can get. At Iwagu91, their first question was, your thoughts on the on-screen friendship between Britt Baker and Tony Schiavone? You know, I'm fine with it, because there at least is a story there with her bullying him and then kind of befriending him. They go over the top with it sometimes to the point where it's just fucking weird. I think it was during the mixed tag team match last week on Dynamite. I think Brit and Cole either kissed or embraced at ringside, and Excalibur was like, "Oh, don't worry, Tony. He said something about like your girl or don't get angry or something." And I'm just like, they're the couple though, not Tony. He was like fucking 60 something, which is just gross. Like I know they're not hinting at any romantic relationship there between Tony and Brit, but they go a little bit overboard with it sometimes to the point where they're like, I don't know, RJ's brought this up before too, and I agree where, you know, with Tony, it's like he's so biased towards Britt Baker, but then he'll fucking hate MJF. I guess it's because MJF is a dick towards him, but so is Britt 2 years ago. And is it because she's a female? Or I don't know, it's a weird thing that he just all of a sudden, like, I know it was a gradual thing, but now they're like best friends. And she's still a heel, he's still supposed to be this unbiased commentator, and then he'll start shitting all over all the other heels and call him like a son of a bitch out of nowhere. Tony I like a lot. I think he's a great commentator. I don't dislike him as much as people like RJ do. But stuff like that, it's fucking weird. I thought the Adam Cole thing from last Wednesday, where it was like, honestly, they probably should have ended this whole Tony and Britt thing after Adam Cole came in, and Adam just should have gone to Tony and said, listen, if you ever play fucking patty cake with my girlfriend again, I'm going to kick your ass. But they're still going back to Tony caring about Britt. It's just weird. I don't know. I'm not completely against it, but it's gotten to the point to me where it's just odd. So I'm sure they're obviously, they're just friends and whatever, but they kind of play into it a little too much to the point where it's just getting a little creepy. So hopefully they can kind of tone down on that, especially if they're going to amp up the on-screen relationship of Britt and Cole, who are an actual, couple, obviously. So I don't know. It's getting to the point where it's a little weird. So hopefully they can kind of scale back on that a little bit. His second question, your thoughts on Hook being booked every 2 weeks on Rampage? I've said this before. I think Hook's very good, and then the kid's got potential. I still don't get the Hook fanfare. He became a meme overnight, and maybe not overnight, but people really took to him as this, this enigma type kind of guy, because he never said anything, and all he would do is just shoot these weird facial expressions on camera. And then they put him in the ring, and he was impressive. He's definitely impressive. I don't know if I would call him a future world champion, but I think for his skill level and for how young he is, the kid's definitely got potential. I'm still not completely on the Hook train as far as like, oh my God, Hook's the best thing in the fucking world. Like, people just go crazy over this guy. And good for him. Good for him. But I'm just not as much on the Hook train as a lot of other people are. That being said, though, I just don't want him to get overexposed. I mean, if he's on the show every 2 weeks, I know his matches are short, but this is what I was saying earlier. Like, they dedicate the same TV time to, like, the same few people every week on Dynamite. It's getting to the point of, like, what WWE has done with Raw and Smackdown in years past, where we only focus on the same few people. Whereas I think the old NXT format was better, and that we wouldn't necessarily see the same people on the show every week, but, I mean, AEW typically does this, and they just haven't done it lately, where, like, someone might wrestle a match this week, but then be in a promo the next week, or a backstage segment, or an advertisement for an upcoming match. They'll do that with some people, but then like they always find time for the same fucking, like Dan Lambert, like I said, or Cody Rhodes, or Jericho. Like, they don't need to be on the show every week. They really don't. Focus on the people that are either better for the product, or switch it out a little bit better, do a better job of that, which they've done in the past, just not lately. And I think that goes for Hook as well. They're really pushing the Hook stuff, and they got to capitalize on it because he's so popular. I get it. But like to book him on Rampage every other week, I mean, I guess it's better than every week, but I don't know. They're probably just doing it to build his win-loss record so he can be a viable challenger for a guy like Cody for the TNT title. I assume that's where this is going. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but you want to create a new star, and he's hot right now, why wouldn't you capitalize on it? I think that makes sense. It's better than doing the opposite of what WWE does. Doing the opposite in that what WWE does, and that sometimes someone will get hot organically, and they'll completely go against it, like Zack Ryder like 10, 11 years ago. But still, we'll see where it goes. We'll see how he does. And so far, so good. And I don't know. I just wouldn't overexpose the guy, especially at the expense of the other Team Taz people. I think Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, personally, have far more potential than Hook does. That's just me. I think Hook is great in the ring. But as far as the complete package, we haven't even heard the guy speak yet. Not that Hobbs is this great talker, but I think Hobbs can be just a much bigger force on that show if they actually put the amount of effort and time that they do into a guy like Hook. They put that and they applied that to someone like a Powerhouse Hobbs as well. And Ricky Starks for that matter too. His third question, your thoughts on 3 of Ring of Honor's championships being defended while the promotion is on current hiatus. I love it. I think that's a great idea. I mean, it keeps people talking about Ring of Honor until their next pay-per-view in April, Supercard of Honor. They already announced Jonathan Gresham and Bandito in a Ring of Honor unification match, champion versus champion, who's the real Ring of Honor champion. So I like it a lot. We've seen the Ring of Honor World Championship defended lately in Impact. They're doing that Ring of Honor invasion, so it keeps people talking about Honor, or Ring of Honor rather, which is great. The Women's Championship was recently defended in the main event of Impact, with Roxy losing it to Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo is great. She's a great representative for that company. I don't know if she'll be working with Ring of Honor as well, but I assume she'll probably be on that April show. And that to me makes sense because she started in Ring of Honor so many years ago, so I'm fine with that. The tag title thing with the Briscoes, them and FTR should be great. Maybe we get a Ring of Honor tag team title match in AEW or in GCW, I'm not sure. Either way, though, I think it's really, really smart. Like, you can't have the Pure Championship or the 6-man tag team titles or the TV Championship represented constantly. And I don't really think they need that. But for their top 3 championships, the women's title, the tag titles, and the men's title, the world championship, I think it makes sense. I think it's cool. It's a unique idea. We don't see that a lot. It would have been very easy for them to have their final show and have that be it. But they're allowing those guys and girls to take those titles and use them elsewhere and keep people talking probably more about Ring of Honor now than they were when they were still running shows 6 months to 12 months ago. So I think it's really smart, and I'm curious to see how it's going to kind of culminate and lead into the April pay-per-view, the Supercard of Honor show in over WrestleMania weekend. At Jeremy8911 from Twitter, with Tommaso Ciampa, LA Knight, Roderick Strong, Pete Dunne, Dakota Kai, and Io Shirai looking like they're getting moved up, which show should they be called up to? Man, like I said earlier, SmackDown needs as much help as it can get. Thinking about talent depth here, I just feel like if Ciampa goes to Raw, honestly, all of these people would be good on SmackDown. I mean, SmackDown is just not a good show right now, but they need more talent. So that's why I say all of them should go to SmackDown. But I also don't want to see rematches from NXT and that we get Pete Dunne and Ciampa or LA Knight and Ciampa or Roderick Strong and LA Knight on SmackDown. They got to work with the established people that are already there. LA Knight, to me, screams SmackDown. Like, he already has the SmackDown colors. I don't know. He just seems like a SmackDown guy to me. So I think LA Knight on SmackDown would be cool. First of all, I don't think all of these guys are getting called up. All these guys and girls. I think Dakota Kai is just getting but used in the main roster dark matches just so Io Shirai is someone to work with. I mean, Dakota Kai did a number of dark matches over the summer. She worked with Aaliyah on main event. She fucking lost, and they called up Aaliyah instead. I mean, that's pretty bad. I don't think Dakota Kai is getting called up. She feels like a lifer to me in NXT. Same thing with Roddy. I don't think Roddy's going anywhere. I think they like him in Diamond Mine. I do too. If he were to get called up, it would have to be with Malcolm Bivens, and I don't think they're giving up in the whole Diamond Mine thing yet, especially since they still do have Ivy Nile and the Creed brothers there. So I don't think Strong or Dakota Kai are going anywhere, although they would be good on SmackDown right now. Io Shirai, I mean, again, it doesn't really matter to me what show. Her and Charlotte would be great. Again, we kind of got that a little bit back in 2020. Her and Becky Lynch on Raw would be interesting. I feel like they would completely fuck her up and not book her as the star that she is. That's my fear with either show, really. But with the remaining people, LA Knight on SmackDown, Pete Dunne probably SmackDown, Ciampa Raw probably, but again, I don't know, Ciampa and like the hard-hitting style of him, Drew, Sheamus, Cesaro, he fits right in. On Raw, I'm trying to think what you can even really do with him on Raw. We have a babyface, I guess, United States champion. Him and Kevin Owens, maybe? Him and Rollins, maybe? Him and The Miz. I know he actually beat The Miz in his only SmackDown match back in 2019, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Ciampa, he's another one. I don't know if he's getting called up. He might, and he probably will. I just feel like he'll get doomed to main event after a couple of weeks on Raw and then get released, a lot like Karrion Kross and all these other people. So, probably Ciampa Raw, LA Knight SmackDown, Roddy staying put in NXT, Dakota staying put in NXT, although I do want her to get called up. Io Shirai Raw, maybe, and Pete Dunne SmackDown. At least Io Shirai on Raw. I don't know, there's a lot of potential stars on Raw right now with Rhea and Bianca, so probably SmackDown for Io. She can take the spot that Toni Storm had before she quit, so... probably Io SmackDown the more I think about it. LA Knight SmackDown and Pete Dunne on... probably him SmackDown too, I guess. Ciampa on Raw. The rest of them, I don't think Dakota Kai is going anywhere. Her on Raw would be interesting. Or SmackDown too. And Roddy, I think he's staying right where he is. Of the two, he'd probably be better on SmackDown, but even then, I don't have a lot of hope or faith they would actually utilize him on that show. A lot like Mustafa Ali. They had no plans for him. He's been doing nothing for months. Part of that is probably due to the blow-up that he and Vince apparently had, but that's entirely the company's fault and not Ali's, in my opinion. But still, to not find a role for a guy like Ali at a time where they need talent on SmackDown, to me, is fucking mind-boggling. I think that's stupid. Just to be petty, that's dumb. At the Wrestle Guy from Twitter, Sal's first question was, I've been thinking, and I fully think AJ Styles should win the Royal Rumble. We're getting Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania anyways. There's ways to get to that match. I think a Styles win would be a nice surprise and shake things up heading into WrestleMania. What are your thoughts? Like I said earlier, I would love if AJ won. He hasn't won a King of the Ring yet, or a Money in the Bank, or a Rumble. I think that'd be great for him. It would immediately reestablish him as a top contender, which everyone already sees him as. But you gotta remember, we haven't really seen AJ in a top title feud in a while, like probably close to a year. He did go for the WWE Championship at the Elimination Chamber show almost exactly a year ago and lost. He was the last guy eliminated by Drew. He got a one-on-one championship match with Drew at TLC in December of 2020. Great match there. But he really hasn't been booked consistently as a main eventer, probably since 2019. 2019 was the last time where he got, that one-off match with Rollins at Money in the Bank. It was right before Mania in 2019 when he had the matches with Bryan over the WWE Championship. He lost almost all of them. And then he went back to the upper mid-card, which is a good spot for AJ to be in. But he hasn't even been in the upper mid-card lately. He was in the tag team division for a while, which was fine. But since they broke up him and Omos, they had AJ lose in 3 minutes, which was fucking stupid. And then he's been feuding with Grayson Waller, had a couple of matches with Austin Theory, and all of that stuff was great. AJ deserves to be positioned higher on the show. He's too big of a star and too good to be wasted away in the mid-card or under mid-card. Like below mid-card, undercard, whatever. Him winning the Rumble would be awesome, but it goes back to what I said earlier. I think the winners of both Rumbles should main event WrestleMania. Becky Lynch, I think, is main eventing one night with Bianca. I don't think it's fair at this point. If you got 2 nights of Mania and you have women's matches that are big enough to main event, I know you should put the biggest matches anyway in the main event of WrestleMania, like regardless of gender, but I think it's only fair and it only makes sense if you want to make the Women's Rumble mean something, then they should be main eventing Mania too. If you got 2 nights, you have no excuse. Like last year we had Bianca and Sasha. That was a big enough match to warrant being the final match at Mania. The build wasn't that good, unfortunately, but the match was good enough and the two are big enough stars to where it made sense for them to main event. I was completely fine with that. This year, Becky is still a big star. You have Ronda maybe coming back. Bianca's a big star. She main evented last year. You have Rhea Ripley. I mean, all of that stuff. I mean, any one of those women can main event WrestleMania, and it would be believable. Charlotte as well. I don't know who you would pair her off with if she were to main event, and I don't really want to see that anyway. So they really should be main eventing. And the other main event is going to be Brock and Roman. I mean, that's the biggest match in WWE right now. I love AJ Styles, but even if he were to win, unless they change plans and put him up against Roman, which would be great. We haven't seen that in almost 6 years, and they work very well together. Then who does AJ even face? Does Edge win the championship at Elimination Chamber in Saudi? I mean, maybe. I think that'd be a bit random. Does he face Bobby Lashley, like I said? Great. Is that the main event? No, it's not. I think Becky and Bianca is a bigger match. I think Becky and Ronda, or even Rhea is a bigger match. I think Roman and Brock's a bigger match, and they're going to go with that as the main event. So I wouldn't want to devalue the Rumble. I mean, I would still be happy if AJ won. I would be stoked because the guy deserves it, and it would put him back in a top championship scene where he belongs. But that's why I don't see it. That's why I see it being Brock, because I don't think they would want an undercard person to win the Rumble and then not put them in the main event. Unless they completely blew up the plans to do Brock and Roman, which would be, I mean, they've been teasing it so much, how can you not go back to it at this point? Plus, the feud's been great, I think. I don't want to see Brock win the Rumble, but that's why I keep going back to him, because they make sense. But AJ winning would be great. It would be a nice surprise. We haven't really had a surprise winner in a very long time. AJ's not even my top 5 likeliest winners, I think. I would put Big E above him. I would put Brock, obviously, above him. Who else could win the Rumble? Oh, man, I don't even remember who I was saying could be a potential possibility. Not someone from NXT, I don't think. Who is the other person I was thinking of? Not Kevin Owens. I don't think Kevin Owens is going to win. Randy, because it's his hometown. I don't see that happening. I think AJ would be more likely than Randy. There was someone else. I'm trying to think who else it was. It was Brock. Oh, man, I wrote about it the other day. Brock, Big E, and who else is on Raw? It wasn't AJ Styles. I don't remember who else I said. It wasn't Edge. I don't fucking remember. But I don't remember ever saying that AJ was going to win. So him winning would be a great surprise. I don't see it happening. I really don't. But it would be a great swerve. And a good swerve that people would be happy with, I think. His second question, with the rumored call-ups of Pete Dunne, Roderick Strong, LA Knight, and Tommaso Ciampa, who among them do you think can have the most success? I think Knight, the other 3 are obviously amazing at what they do, but Knight just has what Vince McMahon wants. It's hard to describe. He has it. I just got done talking about this. I think LA Knight is a main roster guy. Tommaso Ciampa, seeing him in person in the SmackDown Dark match, and then again on main event the last couple of weeks that followed, he doesn't feel like a Vince guy to me. He doesn't feel like a main roster guy. I love Ciampa. Maybe it's just because he hasn't been on the same role that he was on. I mean, I know he was NXT champion recently, but when he was a heel back in 2018, 2019, the guy was on fucking fire. I mean, actually not 2019, but like late 2017. I guess really 2018 was like the year of Tommaso Ciampa. He had an amazing 2018. Came back from injury, had those great series of matches with Gargano. Won the championship, undefeated for a long time, had a very long reign. 2018 was the year of Ciampa. He never really tapped back into that. He got hurt. He came back as a babyface, and he was hot as a babyface. They never put the belt on him, and he kind of fell down the card. He left for a while, came back, would lose, come back, did the tag team thing, come back, NXT champion. Cool, but it's like we all knew he was losing at the breaker eventually, so he never really had a chance to have this great reign like he did back in 2018. It was really just a transitional reign, to be honest. Even if Joe is champion and he wasn't hurt, I still think Joe probably would have lost to Breaker as well at some point. There's really no doubt in my mind about that. So yeah, I think Ciampa just to me doesn't have a shot. I think in this current WWE with what they're going for and the whole youth thing, I don't think Ciampa has the shot. I would rank it in that LA Knight has the chance of the most. Maybe Pete has a higher chance just because he's younger. LA Knight is older, but the same thing, the thing is, Damian Priest is almost 42. He might be older than Damian, or he might be older than LA Knight. So to have, Damian's the United States champion, and rightfully so, the guy's great, then why can't LA Knight have similar success? That's my question. Why not? Why the fuck not? Because the guy's almost 40, who gives a shit? Who cares? You had fucking Hulk Hogan and all these other people parading around as WWE champion for years when they were older, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. So why the fuck not LA Knight is my question. But yeah, that's the only thing I think could be working against him, because why else wouldn't he be on the main roster right now? Pete Dunne, because he's younger, and I think he has a better shot than LA Knight, but it would be Pete, and then Knight, and then Ciampa. I think Roddy has zero chances of success on the main roster. Ciampa more than Strong, just because, at least with Ciampa, he's been around as long as fucking Strong has, but in NXT. I don't know, with Roddy, at least Ciampa can talk. Roddy is not a great talker, and in the ring, the guy's exceptional, one of the best in the world even. He's just not a main roster guy at all. He'd get called up and put over other people and probably go to main event, do a couple matches there, and then again get cut. Probably get cut soon after. So I think the most amount of success in terms of most likely to least likely, Pete Dunne, because of the age. I'm just going off of what Vince would see in these people. Pete, LA Knight, Tommaso Ciampa, Roderick Strong. At Sean PM92, their question was, how would you feel if Randy Orton won the Royal Rumble in his hometown, tying Stone Cold Steve Austin and going on to face Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns, both of whom he hasn't beaten one-on-one on pay-per-view? I don't like the idea. I know Orton's doing amazing work right now in RK Bro, but that's just it. I think the RK Bro stuff has got to culminate at WrestleMania. I wouldn't do a match or have we're not even going to get the split until well after the Rumble. Because I was thinking, okay, they lost the championships pretty soon. Maybe they'll do the split in January or at the Rumble. But they're really dragging out the Alpha Academy stuff. I thought they were going to do the Academic Challenge one night on Raw. But they're actually spreading out the challenges over the course of 3 weeks. We got the Spelling Bee this past week, which honestly I thought was great. Maybe that was just me, but I really enjoyed it. The scooter thing, which might be a lot dumber, but we'll see, next week. And then whatever the third challenge is, if we get there, the following week. So I could see them doing the RK Bro Alpha Academy rematch at Saudi. I think Orton turning on Riddle makes the most sense. And then they do the match at WrestleMania. So I think whatever Orton does at Mania, it has to involve Riddle. I think it would really fuck over Riddle if Orton won the Rumble and then they just kind of... are they going to really have Orton win the Rumble and then have him or Riddle, his partner, do a scooter, a challenge the next night on Raw or 2 nights later on Raw? I don't see that. I just don't see it. So, no, I know they're in St. Louis, but he's already won 2 Rumbles. I have no desire to see that. It just, at least with the Brock thing, I don't really want to see that either, but at least it makes sense. You said with Brock and with Roman Reigns, we've seen Orton and Roman a bunch. We haven't seen it in a long time. But like you said, he hasn't beaten either one of them on pay-per-view. Brock, they had that match at SummerSlam in 2016. It was a decent enough match, but nothing they did in that match made me want to see a rematch. Especially the awful finish. I don't know what the fuck was up with that shit. They were trying to put more heat on Brock or something. I don't know. It was weird. The Roman Reigns matches were good, but it's not really... honestly, him and Roman one-on-one as a feud right now, or after RK Bro stuff is over, would be cool. Orton was still a face. But again, I think he's turning heel on Riddle, so that doesn't... I just don't think that's going to happen. Although it would be a good idea. So, no, I'm kind of out on the idea of Orton winning the Rumble. I think he's just better off doing the upper mid-card thing with Riddle right now, helping him get over. And they can always do either of those matches down the road. Maybe Brock's a babyface and then Orton faces him as a heel. That's a possibility too. I don't even want to see Randy Orton beat Brock Lesnar. I just don't really think he gains anything from that. Him beating Roman rather, also, again, nothing gained. So I don't really like either of those options. He's better off facing Riddle at WrestleMania for no championships contested. At Supersonic X 1991, final question here for this week. What are your thoughts on the Saray vignette from last week? I'm willing to give it a fair shot, but a lot of wrestling fans on Twitter need to realize that they got into anime before they got into wrestling. Again, I'm willing to give it a fair shot. I have no idea what you're talking about as far... you got to clarify. I have no idea what you're talking about as far as a lot of wrestling fans on Twitter need to realize they got into anime before they got into wrestling. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I haven't seen 10 seconds of anime in my entire life. And I've watched wrestling for almost 15 years, so not exactly sure what you're talking about. I'm kind of on the fence about the whole Sarai thing right now. I think it's one of those stereotypical, Japanese schoolgirl type gimmicks that it just, I don't know, it seems very stereotypical, regardless of whether it was her idea or not. If it was her idea, I would still say it's fucking dumb. Like the Nikki Ash thing, I don't care that it was her idea. I still think it's stupid. I think it's cool they actually gave her the freedom to do it, but I think they only said yes because it's the type of stupid idea that they would agree to. That's the problem. With Sarai, I am willing to give it a shot. The vignette didn't inspire a lot of confidence in me. I just thought it was weird. I didn't like it. I don't hate it yet. We'll see where it goes. I think Sarai definitely needed something different. She was very bland and generic before. Maybe they can just let her be her, but give her more of a backstory, which they kind of did, but now they're changing up her whole look. Again, maybe it's her idea. I don't know, but I'm not sold on it yet. Let's put it that way. I'm not completely out on it, but I'm also not sold on it yet. I need to see more. We didn't see anything from her this week. We never even heard from her. Maybe she'll resurface next week. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of the character and the whole, she's a Japanese schoolgirl type character. She's from anime. I just feel like that's way too on the nose, like the whole Tony D'Angelo thing. Again, great worker. I think the gimmick is just way too over the top. It's way too fucking gimmicky. If they can kind of scale back on that sort of stuff, I think people like Sarai and Tony could be big stars. And they're already well on their way. They're very good in the ring. That's really what matters to me. And if they can connect with the crowd. We'll see. I don't know. I guess I can't really make a full judgment on the character until we see it on TV or we see it in a play out or in a segment or a promo or whatever. So we'll give it more time. So far yet, I don't have the highest of hopes, given especially the company that she works for and how they handle this sort of thing historically. And that's going to do it, guys, for episode 426 here on January 26, 2022. Appreciate you guys, as always, for checking out the show. One more time, a lot of stuff to catch up on here on the channel if you haven't already. We had my interview with Sheamus go up on Monday. He was awesome in video form. We got another video interview coming up on Friday here on the channel. Very likely Friday, subject to change, but aiming for Friday, with fellow SmackDown superstar Kofi Kingston ahead of the Rumble on Saturday. We got Rumble predictions coming to WrestleRant Radio tomorrow, the excerpts of which will be available here on the channel tomorrow. A Shang-Chi review and the return of our Marvel superhero podcast, whatever, very likely coming up on Monday. SmackDown audio review coming up on Saturday, as well as my Talking Smack review, very likely. Sunday, my review of, again likely, Broken Skull Sessions with Becky Lynch. Keep an eye out for that. And hashtag AskGSM here today. The Fallout next week. Raw Talk yesterday, my review of that. So a lot of videos going up right now here on the channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. New videos every single day. Hit the bell button as well to be notified every time a new video goes up. Have a great rest of your week, guys. Enjoy the Royal Rumble on Saturday. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.